meeting to order at 7:02. We do a roll call.
Michelle wasn't able to join us. How about that? Michelle wasn't able to join us tonight, so I'm going to be doing double duty here, so I may ask for questions, and if you don't see me writing notes, then tell me to write notes. So Shannon Strassman.
Here.
Looks like present. Connie Hilla up there.
Here.
And James Roberts.
Here.
Kate Cronin.
Present.
And David Lonsdorf. I called and said he would not be here. Terry Schnapp. We have
Here.
Sue called and said she would not be here, and I did not hear from Greg, but I did touch base with him, and it sounds like he's starting to have some issues with getting here on Thursday nights. So I think they're looking for a replacement for him, but we do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Did we get any public comment?
I did not get any public comments. No.
Okay, then let's do a review and approval of the meeting minutes from February 17th, 2022. Anybody have any comments or corrections about the minutes? If not, support a motion to approve as submitted.
Make a motion to approve.
I second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Hearing none, the minutes as submitted for February 17th are approved. And we'll move into the chief's report. Patrick, if you're ready.
I am. What do I got to do different to get that up there? Close the other one. So it's a brand new computer. All right. So there, this did get emailed out to you. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger so you can kind of take a look at it. Nothing really outstanding there. We were back above, kind of up to above our regular numbers for March there. So 346 was our number. That was a 5% above the year before, which was another really busy month. So we are at 4.2%. Looking for that for the year because last month was so low, still looking at about 4,000 calls. But it looks like we'll still be up there. The rest of that information that's on there is pretty similar. Pediatric seizures and protocol changes will be our training for this month. So every 2 years when we do an operational plan and submit it to the state, our medical director, we work with a kind of a countywide consortium of medical directors to update our protocols that we operate under, make sure that they're outcome-based and based on current medicines and do a good solid review of that. So a handful of tweaks in there that will change with our new protocols. If anyone's like really interested in seeing what those are, I can get that information to you. But making sure we do training on that, and then we'll roll those out actually May 1st. Other demographics that are out here they're pretty much unchanged. Same thing with sick persons and falls, just keep switching spots. Little more evenness in the response by stations from last month, which is unique. As far as aging goes, all those numbers are where we've been in a couple pretty good months. So we're actually starting to see kind of that income come in from those last few big months in January. So there's our cash on hand. We're actually sitting pretty good. As I said, we actually got our last deposit as we'll look in the in-house operating budget here. The last run review or the last run income from last month was actually pretty significant, kind of catching us up on the big push we had at the tail end of the year there, as well as when we did all of the support at the Atlanta Energy Center at the end of the year with all of those events and the public health COVID clinics. We finally got all those checks in from the county, so all that stuff is getting deposited back in there. That we spent, like I want to call it the extra payroll, was paid for itself, but we pay for it and we get reimbursed. Just as a reminder that it's up there, we cashed in that CD for the ambulance purchase, and so that is actually sitting in our savings account, and then our WISC account that sits there in those CDs and investment funds that we won't see until the end of the year when we get that interest on those. March was a pretty dull year pretty dull month to hire anybody, so no donations and no milestones. Let me get rid of that and bring up the in-house operating budget. I got two screens at home. So I get to open up the same screen here, otherwise I usually get to throw them up in that other screen. All right, we're good. So we're just over 25%, or just under 25% of the year after those first 3 months. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, that 27% with a run income, we got a good deposit last month. So really actually pretty good where we should be for the month with our run revenue. All those deposits were made by the municipalities, so we'll see that for the next few months. Again, the numbers I like to look at were 25% through the year, which means these numbers should be right around 25%. So overall salary, we're at 24.1. So we're spot on where we should be for our salaries. Medical supplies is kind of anticipated, even though we upped it for this year, we're already up pretty significantly. It's medical supplies. The prices just keep going up. The availability just keeps becoming more of a challenge. All the rest of the stuff here, I know I've actually covered pretty good over the months. Many of the things that are on here are items that we pay for like once a quarter or like half of a year, so that they're already up so high with this 88% because we've prepaid for a bunch of stuff. We won't see more money coming out of that for quite some time. So there's been no really other big expenditures here. Again, if I look at the overall bottom, we've spent 24% of that budget and we are 25% of the year, so right where we should be. Any questions on either one of those things? Looks like I see shaking heads on the screen. I got nothing in the room. It's perfect.
Thank you. I believe that neither personnel or finance met. So we'll move on to review and approval of accounts payable checks. Anybody have any questions? Everybody get a chance to look them over?
I do have a paper copy. You did?
I looked online, but
All right.
okay, I guess there's no questions. How about a motion to approve as submitted?
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
A second?
I said,
Thank you. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the accounts payable checks as submitted are approved. Then we'll move into the CIP projects, which will be interesting. Patrick, take it away.
All right, I'll have this down by the end of the night. Perfect, there it is. You did get this emailed out. You did get this emailed out to you. I'll zoom in a little bit more. So the form that you see here is actually a form that Fitchburg uses, so that's the same one that I just used. The numbers will change and flop around. But as you can suspect, as I've been kind of sharing all along, if you haven't been paying attention to anything, there's a problem with supply, demand, and rising costs of everything in the world. Started seeing it last year, shortly after we took delivery of our ambulance last year. The delivery time on ambulances is now just about 12 to minimum of 12, more like about 16 to 18 months. From the day I order it, we will not see it for about 18 months. So I started working with the Braun is the buyer, the distributor seller, I guess, that all the ambulances we currently have, which has been, again, phenomenal mechanical support for everything we have done with them. The goal of keeping all of our stuff the same. I've got extra locks and door handles and all those things that would normally take us out of service. I've got a whole drawer with all that stuff. Pretty good at changing doors and locks and radio antennas. So the idea is keeping everything the same. So reached back out to them, knowing that time frame was what we were looking at. Said, what is it going to look like if I want a truck, say June of next year? When do I need to order that to get it delivered on time, and what is that going to cost? So I actually did get back with a quote, and that quote came back just about 20% higher than the truck we just paid for 8 months ago. Yes. So, and then on the top of that, we usually add just about $90,000 to $100,000 to replace all of the stuff that is inside of that. And I've got a handful of those quotes. Those have not gone quite up 20%, but they've gone up pretty significantly. There are 5 items that we buy to replace the cot, the monitor, the radios that are inside there that account for almost $75,000 of that. So putting all that together, what it is you'll see there, the CIP request for 2023 is actually 20% higher than what we asked for 2 years ago. This is just the city of Verona still continues to do this just every 2 years, borrows the money and sends it out. The town of Verona and the city of Fitchburg have a fleet replacement, which looks similar to, I'll just switch over to that, which looks similar to that up there, as opposed to borrowing that bulk every other year and kind of the peaks and the valleys of a CIP request. There's a spreadsheet, and they just pay a little, they put aside some every year, so they don't take the big hit every 2 years. They take a little hit, if that's what it is, every year. So it does change it a little bit, and I changed the spreadsheet to kind of reflect that and make sure that we're asking for the appropriate amount. So the big number that you see there, that is the overall cost of what this went up to. The original, or the cost that was listed there 2 years ago, I believe, was $375. What that looks like per municipality, essentially, if they paid for it just every other year, that would be, and this is also based on equalized value. So it would be $207 for Fitchburg, $188 for the city of Verona, and $27.50 for the town of Verona. David, Dr. Lonsdorf actually did come in last week, so he is aware of this stuff. I did share this with him. He didn't have any other questions, kind of it is what it is. Unfortunately, I mean, this is what dump trucks and everything is going up at. We do have some other options to look at. I can reach out to some other dealers, which is a potential, which we probably should do every once in a while anyways. What I'm going to run into, it's still going to be a 20% increase, and I'm still going to be waiting 16 to 18 months. No one's getting them any faster. I did talk with our sales rep, and so this is an exact duplicate of the vehicle we got just 8 months ago, with the exception of the anti-idle system that Epic paid for, that grant that shuts it off. Essentially the short of it, the company that makes that isn't interested in supplying anybody in the Midwest anymore. So they actually did find a smaller, cheaper system that is just as functional, which did save a little bit of money, yet still drove the whole thing up 20%. That cost does, it includes that. But working with her, they do make a truck very similar to ours that is literally 13 inches shorter. It is just as wide, it is just as tall, it is the same truck, it is a foot shorter. It's surprising how much smaller it is when you start taking 3 inches here and 3 inches here and 4 inches here. It really, really squishes stuff. There's only one service in Wisconsin that actually has that truck. I took one of our paramedics last week, and we road tripped up there and took a look at it. I wanted to hate it, but I didn't. It is probably functional. We can make it work. We're working. She's finally getting the specs to essentially match what our truck would be now. How much space we truly do lose. He said it doesn't seem like you'd lose a ton with a foot, but all of a sudden we start losing whole cabinets and space like that. The rough estimate is that truck would come in about $20,000 cheaper than this. It still gets us a 12% increase in CIP versus a 20% increase. But I guess I continue to kind of go back and forth of that's a significant amount of money. It's $20,000, but it's also a truck that we are going to keep for the next 10 to 12 years. That if losing 3 cabinet spaces, I don't want something just because we can make it work. That's kind of the CIP presentation. That includes the response car that is moved out to 2030. Originally, that was to be replaced in 2026. We can easily make that car last farther. That actually helps ease just a little bit, but because it's such a small number versus the cost of an ambulance, it's not really impactful. The other thing I guess to throw out there, it doesn't change the number a whole lot. Is my intent originally was to sell this next one or keep this next one and still keep five ambulances for 2 more years till 2025 when we kind of look at that next expansion. Based on the trying to get ambulances, the resale value on them now is great, so it would probably be great to sell it. However, again, I just told you had I known what it was going to be like to try to get one of these, we probably would have kept the last one we just sold. Hearing kind of the horror stories around the state of the catastrophic ambulance crashes, and it doesn't matter, they still can't get trucks to replace them. Nobody's giving them up. So my plan would be when we purchase this next truck to actually expand our vehicle fleet to 6. As of like this moment in time, we actually have both of our ambulances out supporting the Midwest Horse Fair for the next 4 days. So like as of right now, all 5 trucks are in service for the next 4 days. So I think it's actually probably a fairly decent investment. It's not going to be that much more investment in a capital side. We really won't keep all 6 trucks fully stocked like we have our current 5. So we'll be able to kind of piecemeal that up to full standard over the next 2-3 years. So that won't be a huge hit. So I guess kind of putting that out there for discussion. If there's any thoughts on if you have whether to proceed with this number or truly try to shave. And when we talk about taking $20,000 out of there, again, it's divided by municipality. So, fortunately, not one municipality has to eat that whole increase. You get to share it based on equalized value. I mean, it's still $20,000, but.
Yeah, well, it's like $2,000 a year, and I get a question on if you save it, if you would get a different truck, would that have a different configuration than all the others? Would that create a problem for staff?
So if we looked at the same brand with the smaller truck, in the rough draft drawing, we lose about 2 cabinets. It would just be readjusting stuff. That one I don't think would be a huge as much. To look at a different manufacturer and different layouts, they can customize things, keeping in mind that every time we customize something, but then even with our current buyer, every time I customize something, it raises the cost. To buy one off the shelf is the cheapest. We can work in anything. But it absolutely, I always like to, that caution in the heat of the moment, you always grab for what you think it is because that's the way it is in every other truck. To me, safety, convenience wise, that's where it is. That's not the time I want to be trying to dig around for stuff. All five of our trucks right now, with the exception of one of them, are like 95% matches. And after we have the one more of them, we'll get rid of the last, I think, drawer we have, and they will truly all be almost identical.
I think we ought to just stay with what we have. And when you look at that 20,000, like Terry said, over 10 years, it really doesn't amount to much. And I'd rather not lose space as things progress. You never know what you're going to need for space, and to lose it, you can't get it back.
That was kind of one of my thoughts as well. As soon as we go down to that smaller truck, and we've got it for 12 years, we have done a handful of things, which I even did with the last truck of, there's, as much as we like the light bar and it makes lights shiny and things to be seen, there's actually no really great science that says we have to have a light bar up there. So we've gone with the ones in the front of the box, which is what most ambulances have now. We're actually able to take $5,000 off the last one we bought. We went with a different scene light that took about $1,000 off there. We took some stuff out, added a handful of things back in. It was more of the kind of COVID-y type stuff. We actually put in, with the last ambulance that came, the antibacterial lights. There's actually an antiviral filter that runs 24 hours. So we put a handful of things in there for patient safety wise. So we did actually with our last purchase, it was almost a equalized purchase from, if I do the math, what is it, 17 to 19, because we're 19 to 21, because we were able to kind of move some stuff around. I guess, unfortunately, I did it last time. I can't do it this time because we're pretty down to it's a very, very functional ambulance without a lot of bells and whistles on it. But thank you. Anybody online have anything?
Patrick, does the smaller ambulance have any impact on like ability to manage the cot sizes that we have?
Nope, what it does is it's same cot, same load, same stuff that's inside. The difference would be, right, currently there's, 8 inches or 12 inches between the end of the cot and the door, and there's, 8 or 12 inches between the cot and the head, and there's another 3 inches between. All that gets squished down. That's where I said it's kind of, when we actually looked at it, you'd think it's a foot, and all of a sudden you just move 3 inches here, 3 inches here, 4 inches, and now it fits. So they just get tighter to the end of the door, but everything, the cot and the auto load would still be the exact same as what we currently have. Also because I reached out ahead of time, the purchase of our cot, normally we purchase the cot, we can get a better deal on it than our ambulance builder can, and they purchase that auto loading system because they get a better deal than I can. They were, again, have been a phenomenal partner with us. They were able to order a cot and purchase it for us kind of when I first said, hey, this is what I'm looking at the current prices now. So even though we won't officially even order this or take delivery of it till next year, we're paying spring of 2022 prices for that cot. Essentially, they bought it for us. So that actually is going to help save a little bit of money in the long run here. Things, again, we got the radios, which historically we've been able to move with Motorola. They are at their end of their 20-year serviceability life, so they still cover them for 10 more years. We don't have to purchase them outside of the ambulance, but with each ambulance, we do need to replace the mobile radio as opposed to getting to the kind of tail end and spending $100,000 to replace all of our radios. In 10 years, those will be obsolete. So again, did the best we could to kind of pick through there and say, what can we get rid of?
Would the smaller size have any impact on the amount of total weight that the bus can carry?
It does make it lighter. We could actually go back to with the last ambulance, we had to go up to a 550 chassis because we have so much weight on there. Being a foot shorter, we were able to go back down to a 450 chassis. That's exactly what we have in every one of our other trucks. Feedback from the crew, whether it's in their head or not. I mean, I've been in it, so it's hard to describe whether it's because it's a new truck or whether it truly is that 550. The suspect is 550 is a bigger truck, probably with a bigger suspension. It actually does carry the load a little nicer, being that bigger truck. We would go back down to a 450, but the truck is lighter because there's a foot less fiberglass on it.
Any other questions? Do you need any action by the commission?
I guess we actually do because it's a finance thing. So it would be options to approve as presented, or to come back with, once I finally get what that final number is with that smaller truck, would be to come back with that number for you to see the difference.
Is there interest in pursuing the smaller truck?
Not on my part.
Nope.
Hearing none, I guess, then we could probably just take a motion to approve as you submitted it then.
Okay.
A motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor of approving the capital improvement project as submitted, signify saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the 2023 capital improvement project as submitted by Chief is approved. And we'll move on to negotiations with Local 311.
Sure. So as you can remember, this is a negotiation year. The current collective bargaining agreement is up at the end of this year. So I forgot to mention it in my chief's report, but the email was all sent to you. So Kyle Wells, who was one of our lieutenants, has taken a position out east. He was unable to come talk with you tonight, so he does plan on coming into May. He's technically still employed till the end of May. He's just using his vacation up until he's till all that is gone. So he does intend to come and thank you himself. But so he is gone. He is the current union rep. So I was told by the end of this week I'll know who the next union rep is, and I will touch base with them. But we need to begin contract negotiations for whatever the next term is, whether that it's 3 or we continue to go on with the 4. But just need to present a letter to the local 311 saying that we intend on negotiating with them. From this committee, then, we need to put together a negotiating group. I did talk with Brian, I did talk with David from the town, so I don't know if you want to reach out to him and figure out who you want to send from the town. The city, I don't know, you run it last time, JR. Again, historically, we've had the sitting voting member of the commission from the council or the town board be at least the person on there. As I had kind of mentioned, Adam, the city administrator from the city of Verona, had expressed interest in being on there. I did share that with Chad from the city of Fitchburg. I know they have talked, I will kind of coordinate with all of you and see what you want to do. If you need to talk with your governing boards and see who you want to be on that, or if you want to represent on that, that's the information I need. We are not restricted to how many members we can send. If all 9 of you want to be on it, I'm sure that you would love to do one more meeting a night for how many more weeks. But I will put that out there once we have our board scheduled. I will start putting out notices to try to get together with 311 or give them their letter. They'll give us the letter. 4 years ago, I guess, it was a total of about 4 meetings. Essentially, kind of how it goes is we get together as the commission side of representative. We look at that contract, propose any changes to anything we see in the contract. They get together on their side. We have that first meeting to really just exchange ideas. We kind of break off, look for any clarifying questions, get back together, get those questions answered, and then we part ways again. No true back and forth happens at that first meeting. They take it their side, we look at it our side, we take another crack at it. In an ideal world, we met in the middle. We meet one more time and sign it. All right, great. So maybe a couple more little meetings in between there. Last time I know Kyle and I had sat back and forth and kind of looked at some stuff and brought it back to our respective groups to try to save a little bit of time from the big groups with the permission of the collective as a whole. So it was about 4 meetings, I think. It's over the course of a couple of months and pretty flexible on those. But I just kind of wanted to give you that perspective on, does that sound fairly accurate? Yeah. Okay. Give you that perspective on what the time commitment is if you are interested or you want to send that out to a full-time person at your municipality to do that. Don't need an answer tonight. Just wanted you to know that.
Yeah. You talked to Dave. Was he interested in serving, do you know?
He wasn't sure.
He wasn't sure. I'll follow up with the town.
Okay.
See
Yeah, he wasn't sure. One of the things.
Mike may be interested. He was reelected, so he served last time, I think.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
I guess he could, I guess.
He could?
Yeah. I'll
Okay.
find out.
I believe he was going to talk to Sarah, so whether it was going to be Chad, Sarah, and Adam was an option. Again, their perspective came from that both Chad and Adam know what the fire contracts and the police contracts, because we did a 4-year contract, right? Now we're actually finally after everybody. So they voted or ratified their contracts for the next 3 years already. So they have that perspective of what the other bargaining units, and I don't want to say equivalency, but in our municipalities did receive. Once we have those dates, again, I will reach out to Leslie and she'll come in as far as our attorney to
Yeah, that's probably a bigger deal for the 2 cities versus the town.
yeah. But you get your say.
Yeah,
So I'm putting that out there. I guess one thing, I guess as far as the action goes, is that we probably should just take a vote to open negotiations. It's April. Ideally, if we can get it done before June or even July, we'll have real numbers for the 2023 budget. Until then, that's really the only pressure on this, is that until then, salaries for 2023 are going to be a best guess. So I guess maybe any other questions?
so you're looking for a motion to
To
proceed with negotiations
Initiate
and
negoti-
identify the,
Yeah,
The members.
initiate negotiations, yeah.
I make a motion to proceed with initiating negotiations with Local 311 then.
is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of proceeding with negotiations with Local 311, signify saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion to proceed with negotiations is approved. And we'll get back then with the town for the membership. Anybody have any other business they want to bring up?
I'll throw a couple things on there really quick that I skipped over there at the bottom of my chief's report. I shared Kyle's information. So we're currently actually, as far as filling that process, or filling that goes, we historically have done an internal hiring from our LTE pool. So they actually all got a notification 2 weeks ago to put in a letter of interest. 9 of our 13 LTEs actually put in for the position. So that closed last week. I do have an external panel of kind of our public safety partners coming in next week, and to include JR is actually going to be on that interview panel as well. So they'll actually do an interview process next week. If there's kind of some clear candidates in there, there are LTEs, and I've seen most of them for anywhere from 1 to 10 years, so I'm very familiar with them. But we'll take a look at kind of what that panel says, and then that'll give them a good 3 to 4 weeks. So by the time Kyle is actually done, we'll have that person hired. And then the onboarding should be very minimal because they're already LTs in work for us. It truly is coming in to do paperwork and getting uniforms. After that, then we'll probably we will be opening up another LTE pool to help kind of replenish that pool. We face the same problems most people across the county are facing, and it's the LTE. We're all sharing the same group of LTEs, and it's truly when I have somebody call in sick, it trickles down and it starts affecting all the rest of the services around us when they got to cancel at their other jobs. The audit, got an email yesterday. We were trying to figure out what that is. I know both the city of Fitchburg and the city of Verona are waiting for our audit to get done. Heard back from our auditors for whatever reason, right? Their reasons were it's still not done. They did say we should have a draft by the end of next week. April, they usually present in April because we have it in March, so it's kind of taken a pretty significant time to get this done, and so we can talk about that later in the fall, whether we want to continue to use them. This is kind of the second year this has happened, but we should have it by the end of next week. Whether they want to come present in May or June, we'll coordinate that. I guess the last thing I put on there is for next month, and I'll coordinate this out in an email, is probably putting personnel together to kind of talk about, we can do personnel and or budget, or probably more personnel thing, and then just talk about how it influences that budget, about what the growth kind of the district looks like in the next 3 years. The city of Fitchburg has put together a little separate from their CIP process, but is still tracking all the departments. Every year we all come together and ask for more people. So they're kind of putting together a very similar CIP process to essentially personnel. So to be part of that and kind of look at some of what our growth is, some of what our options. I'm digging through some stuff now that Kyle is gone, or will be gone, and we'll be getting a new person in there that you remember, he's also a lieutenant. So that's taken a lieutenant position away. So starting to have some discussions with our current lieutenants and our staff about maybe changing some stuff up as far as different roles and responsibilities and personnel and kind of what that looks like. So we're just giving you the heads up. I'll send it out in an email. Would like to get personnel together however long we want to do before next month's meeting, and then we'll probably have to do, or we will be doing like probably the finance committee in June before that meeting, because June will do the budget presentation kind of based on some of the discussions we have in May. That's what I have.
Who's the chair of the Personnel Committee?
I'd have to,
I don't remember.
I'd have to look.
Okay.
think it might be
Mr.
Sue.
Who?
It might be Sue.
Sue, okay,
I'll have to look.
okay.
And are we gonna do anything about filling lieutenant slot with Kyle leaving?
Be determined. Jeff and I have talked about some ideas. I've talked with the lieutenants about some ideas. I would like to get some staff involvement with some ideas. And I think based on kind of what I get back from the staff, as of right now, I've told the staff I want to get through the full-time hiring process, and then we'll talk about what to do with the lieutenant's process, because I think we've got some different options with that position to make it better. So as of this moment, I've just kind of put the filling of that position, or even a promotion process for that position, on hold. The other two are going to be able to accomplish, or at least cover most of what he's done, and the rest of the stuff Jeff and I will absorb.
If we feel that would be an internal promotion anyways, probably, okay, so. Okay, anything else from anybody? If not, a motion to adjourn would be good.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Guess-
Second.
Oh, we heard one. Oh, thought maybe he wanted to continue. Okay, all in favor of adjourning? Say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.